our distinguished guests, brothers and sisters, our friends and our enemies. Everybody is here.
Malcolm X was a brilliant orator and a civil rights advocate. He developed the Afro-American identity and was practically minded in searching for solutions to systemic
Equality
racism.
has nothing to do with whites. We don't want to be equal with the white man. He's not the criteria or yardstick by which equality is measured. He's not in a position to tell us we are equal. It's not his right. It's not his.
Unfortunately, he is often overlooked in history classes, and I can't help but feel that's because he's so often compared with Martin Luther King Jr.
Yet, the schools haven't been desegregated. As I say, this is a victory with no victory. It's a victory that you can talk about, but it's a victory you can't show me. So if you represent the NAACP and you're telling me about this great victory you won for me, when I look at you, I have to conclude that either you have been duped yourself or else you were trying to dupe me.
While they were on friendly terms, they differed wildly in their beliefs and tactics, which created a small feud within them.
Through the freedom rides and through the sit-in movement and the recent Birmingham movement, and see the reactions of many of the extremists and reactionaries in the white community, he wouldn't say that this movement makes, or this philosophy makes them comfortable. I think it arouses a sense of shame within them often, in many instances. I think it does something to touch the conscience and establish a sense of guilt.
King advocated peaceful resistance, down to the point where violence was encouraged to be met with nonviolent retaliation, or simply no retaliation at all. X, meanwhile, found this to be misguided and believed that no amount of protest or resistance would ever result in America being free from racism.
We feel that the problem, number one, of the black man in America is beyond America's ability to solve. It's a human problem, not an American problem or a Negro problem. And as a human problem or a world problem, we feel that it should be taken out of the jurisdiction of the United States government and the United States courts and taken into the United Nations in the same manner that the problems of the black man in South Africa, Angola, and other parts of the world, and even the way they're trying to bring the problems of the Jews in Russia into the United Nations because of violation of human rights. We believe that our problem is one not of violation of civil rights, but a violation of human rights.
Rather, X thought that America, being founded and structured by white men, could only ever favor that group.
But when you're in another man's country, in another man's land, under another man's flag, and under another man's government, and under another man's court system, you have to look to that other man for justice, and you'll never get it. And Negroes in this country probably are authorities on
This led X to further believe that all black leaders advocating for peace or supporting Martin Luther King Jr. were puppets or Uncle Toms.
People like Martin Luther King, who just got a Nobel Peace Prize, an Uncle Tom. Is this correct, first?
Well, I'd rather say that in the States, there's a law that has recently been passed or a decision handed down by the court wherein if you call someone an Uncle Tom, they can sue you for libel.
Well,
so I never refer to them as Uncle Toms. I would say that Uncle Martin is my friend.
And just as Uncle Tom, back during slavery, used to keep the Negroes from resisting the Bloodhound or resisting the Ku Klux Klan by teaching them to love their enemy or pray for those who use them despitefully, today Martin Luther King is just a 20th century or modern Uncle Tom or a religious Uncle Tom who is doing the same thing today to keep Negroes defenseless in the face of attack that Uncle Tom did on the plantation to keep those Negroes defenseless.
Show me in the white community where a comedian is a white leader. Show me in the white community where a singer is a white leader, or a dancer or a trumpet player is a white leader. These aren't leaders. These are puppets and clowns that have been set up over the white community and over the black community by the white community and have been made celebrities and usually say exactly what they know that the white man wants to hear.
Malcolm X firmly believed in the teachings of his Muslim sponsor, Elijah Muhammad, that the only solution is the separation of African Americans from whites to incorporate a separate state.
Elijah Muhammad taught his followers that the only solution was a separate state for black people. And as long as I thought he genuinely believed that himself, I believed in him and believed in his solution. But when I began to doubt that he himself believed that that was feasible, and I saw no kind of action designed to bring it into existence or bring it about, then I turned in a different direction.
As he began to realize that such a thing may not be achievable through Muhammad, he defected from his leader to create a new group that could represent all black individuals in the Western Hemisphere to help govern and develop apart from what he considered to be white laws and structures.
The Organization of Afro-American Unity shall include all people of African descent in the Western Hemisphere. In essence, what it is saying, instead of you and me running around here seeking allies in our struggle for freedom, in the Irish neighborhood or the Jewish neighborhood or the Italian neighborhood, we need to seek some allies among people who look something like we do. And once we get their allies.
As time went on, however, his disillusionment began to weigh on him. He had made enemies of so many that he was beginning to run out of friends and power, which left him vulnerable.
And as we explained in that rally on May, many of you thought that we should go right on out then and make war on the white man. You wanted to do it yourself, didn't you? Didn't you? You wanted some action then, didn't you? Because you don't like the idea of white people shooting black people down, do you? And you're ready to do something about it, aren't you? We know you are. And the white man should be thankful. Who taught you to hate your own kind? Who taught you to hate the race that you belong to? So much so that you don't want to be around each other. No, before you come asking Mr. Muhammad, does he teach hate? You should ask yourself, who taught you to hate being what God gave you?
Not necessarily that conspiracy. The attempt was made upon my life because I speak my mind and I know too much. And they know that I will speak it whether they like it or not.
Do you consider yourself militant?
I consider myself Malcolm.
On February 21st, 1965, Malcolm X. Shabazz was shot dead by sympathizers to Elijah Muhammad. Though he had not changed his values or beliefs, his propensity for making enemies faster than friends and speaking his mind when it wasn't safe to do so had made him a target of too many. Perhaps it was inevitable, and perhaps that same reason can be attributed to why King appears in textbooks rather than X.
Then every city will sit on a powder keg and can explode over the slightest incident.
But he never changed his values and spoke his mind without fear until the very end. And given the racial tensions in America today, nearly 60 years later, perhaps he was right. Perhaps the problem of racism can never be solved in America. Either America must be completely reinvented, or the black population be allowed to create their own state. Bleak, maybe. But for that, he and his ideas should be respected enough to be discussed in high schools across America.
To sit down at the same table. The white man has to feel free to speak his mind without hurting the feelings of that Negro. And the so-called Negro has to feel free to speak his mind without hurting the feelings of the white man. Then they can bring the issues that are under the rug out on top of the table and take an intelligent approach to get the problem solved. That's the only way that they'll ever do it.